And welcome back to Straight Talk. Just before the break, we're discussing the press release from the 207 and some of the patrols that they were.
I think
Go no, go on.
part of that dialogue that was happening on Facebook was with curfew. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think now with patrols that are being started by the 207, it's gonna kind of be like an unwritten rule or something, because you can have security from outside the community, but when it's your own people and if they're out doing their job kind of thing and they're gonna see kids out, I think there's gonna be a reduction in vandalism.
All I know is that when I was a kid, if I was out after 10 o'clock or whatever, and it's like everybody knew.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knew.
The curfew.
People used to
The curfew's at 9. The curfew's at 9 o'clock. It's a 1966, law that came into effect, and very rarely did the police ever use it because it wasn't effective. And some of the reasons were that what was the mechanism to follow? And it's too difficult to do that. You can't actually charge somebody with it. The other thing is the police ended up to be the babysitters. You bring somebody home, and in some cases they were right back out the door because the parents allowed them to do that. And then there was no mechanism to deal with that afterwards. So it becomes a bigger issue other than just a certain time.
The short end of that, Mike, is it's unenforceable. On a practical level, when you start talking about that kind of thing, that comes from a place of the feeling of threat, the feeling of being out of control. Like you have no control. You're losing control of your environment, your world. And so you look for things like
we're trying to
be in at 9.
We're acting on a lot on emotion.
And
some of the ideas, although they're good ideas, they're not practical, and they're too difficult to do, regardless of the circumstances. In the 60s, that may have been so when we had 4,000 people in this community, but when you have 10,000 people plus all the other people that are coming in throughout the night to enforce that, who's going to enforce it? We don't have enough police to actually enforce that now. Years ago, when you had 5 or 6 police and so somebody was out there, were going, you know what I mean? But that was in the 60s. Now we're 2011.
But you know what? But the one thing though is what is good, what is healthy, what is really a positive outcome of all this is that people are in fact having those discussions. They are having that dialogue about, okay, what works, what won't work. The fact is that people are mobilizing to say, take responsibility, that it's not just a P case that's responsible for the safety of this community. We have a role to play too. Right. And to discuss, to me, the thing about this particular press release to me, which really puts my mind at ease somewhat, is that if you were just going to have a bunch of guys running around in a pickup truck looking to say whose head they were going to bust, like, what are you doing here, kind of thing, you wouldn't put this out. You would go and do it. But by making a public statement about it, it becomes something you look at and say, these guys are thinking seriously about it. And it is out there publicly now. So that discussion is now enjoined.
And that also gives us, as community members, it gives us an empowerment.
And I look at
because it's come from us.
Yeah, and I look at it, I guess, in a different perspective. I mean, I agree with that we need extra eyes out there, and I agree that something, I guess, more formal is being done, opposed to just anybody riding around and you don't know how they're going to deal with some situations. But the same thing is, how are they going to deal with some situations? So we got the press release from the 207 Longhouse, and I was able to talk to one of the representatives of it, Kenneth Deere, and we'll go to that interview now. So I'm here today talking to Kenneth Deere in regards to a letter that the 207 Longhouse had put out for patrols for the community. as secretary, you know, the letter was sent out with your signature, I guess, explaining what the 207 was doing as far as the patrols in the community and the request from the community to have more patrols or more security. Can you explain, I guess, a bit about how that came about?
Well, we used to have patrols a long time ago, like about 20 years ago, and we haven't had them, since that time. But community members, people within the Longhouse and others, have been talking to us every now and again, saying that they like them to come back, and to people who feel that there's not enough security in the community as it is, and so we've been talking about it for some time. It's not something that happens overnight. And it's a complicated thing to do. It's not easy. It's just not a bunch of guys jumping in a car and just driving around. We feel that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way. We're going to put policies in place. We're going to make sure that that we have a clear mandate from the Longhouse to do this, and we do. That goes all the way back to 1972 or 1973, actually, and that whoever we put on the road are responsible people. We want to do what we did well 20 years ago and get rid of things that didn't go well.
I guess it's a big task when you take on the responsibility of doing that for anybody. Obviously we have the peacekeepers here when it comes to law and order, and the peacekeepers had put out a press release a couple of weeks ago saying that there was another security company that was doing patrols, and they just wanted the community to know that they're willing to work with anyone. But that had nothing to do with the 207s.
No.
That's another company, right?
We're not a company.
No, I mean that was a company.
That was a company. It's
Yeah,
a private firm.
Have you had any response so far?
So far,
from the
it's been positive.
peacekeepers and or
We have
the council?
I don't know about the peacekeepers. I don't know if the Rescatavete have met with the peacekeepers yet. Not that I know of. And but they intend to, and they want to have a good relationship with the peacekeepers. In the past, we had some good relationships with some of the peacekeepers, and not so good with some others.
I was around it.
You might know more about that than I do. But they want to make sure that it's a positive relationship. We're not in a competition. It's not a one or the other. It's something that we have to do together, to protect the whole community.
There was some mention of, I guess, some sticker or something that was going to be on the car. How was it identified?
It's red. It's red, and it has it's very similar to the warrior flag, and it has Rescatavete on there, and I think the bottom says Community Patrol or Community Watch.
Is there a phone number or something that if somebody won't like?
Right now, on the press release, we're asking you to call the Nation office, and at that number 632, I think it's 7639. And 7639 exactly, and then the Nation office will put you on to whoever you have to speak to.
What are some of the things that I guess that have been discussed or expecting of the patrols?
Well, what the community is asking for is that they don't want to see outsiders, non-natives, wandering around our community in the middle of the night when they have absolutely no business to be here. We feel that if they don't have right to be here, so they should be either asked to leave, or the peacekeeper should be called to investigate and check them out. It's a deterrent to make sure that the outside people know that it's not, that there are people out there in the streets or around. So we don't want to have the same thing that happened with the couple of home invasions that we've had, and there's been robberies in some of the business establishments, and there's other issues. So there's been vandalism in the community. We know with our own people. It's not just outside people that cause problems.
No, for sure.
There's our own people, and there's been some car break-ins and stuff. So there's a lot to be done. The peacekeepers can't be everywhere, and this can complement what they do.
Is there going to be any type of intervention in the event that that they do see something?
We don't. If the peacekeepers would respond to our request when we see something, then it's not necessary for any of us to intervene in a criminal activity. But sometimes community members call us for other things that are not necessarily criminal, but have a social. Somebody's lost. Somebody's intoxicated and it's got to be taken care of and stuff like that. We've intervened in those kinds of situations that don't necessarily need to have peacekeepers carry out.
Anybody armed patrolling, or
Not
there's
armed.
none?
There are not. There are no firearms in the.
I mean, because some people was like asking those questions on the.
Yeah. No. It's a legitimate question because
Yeah.
that happened in the past, and it's a legitimate question. But there are no firearms in the vehicle.
Do you have a lot of men that have already volunteered? Or?
We have a few men. I can't say a lot. We have a few men, and a lot of them are already at work, and so they're giving up their own time to do their sleep time to do this. So we're so it's a bit of restriction, makes it a bit more difficult, but it's a dedication of the men. I mean, they feel that it's a duty, and they'll carry out their duty even though it has an impact on their family life.
If somebody's not part of the longhouse and they wanted to volunteer, would you accept them, or
We would they would be talked to. I think that if you call the nation office and leave your name and your phone number, and somebody will contact you, and they'll have and I guess they'll have a chat.
I know that it had mentioned that I guess eventually there's going to be some kind of meeting with, I guess, the peacekeepers and or the council. What are you expecting from that?
I think the issue that we want with the peacekeepers is that it's cooperation, and that we're not in competition with one another. We're not trying to get rid of the peacekeepers. It's a complement them, and to be extra eyes for them in the community. And we just want to know that if we call them, we're only going to call them if we think there's something they should look into, and we're not going to fool around about that. We'll be serious. Their time is valuable, and we just want them to, if we call them, that we're serious. We're not just horsing around, and we want them to respond. We don't want a conflict with the peacekeepers. That's not even an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. It's something that to everybody can cooperate and make the community feel more comfortable.
Well, that's good. I mean, I guess the community has been asking for another alternative to helping out with, I guess, the safety and security of the community, especially in the evening. The police, I can't see them not, accepting that, because it is going to complement what they're doing, and it's going to give an extra set of eyes to the community. And I have to, I guess, take my hat off to you and to 207 for stepping up and to do that. I know that there's an expense to that also, for gas and stuff like that, and I hope it works out. And the community, if they have any questions, they can call the
nation office.
The nation office. Mm-hmm. We'll put the number up. And is there anything else that you would like to?
No, I just like to say that the Longhouse is doing something that many community members are asking for, and that it's for the benefit of the whole community. We're not there to protect private businesses. It's for the community, and that nobody should be upset about it. It's something that we feel is a responsible thing to do, and we'll act in a responsible way.
All right, I thank you very much for coming and explaining some of that information, and looking forward to seeing the patrols out there.
Yeah, see that. It might be out at night though. You won't be able to see the logo.
Anyway, thank you very much, Kenneth.
So thank you, Mike.